So
commence.
I'm the audience won't know this, but I'm recovering from being quite sick over the weekend. And um, so I'm sitting here drinking my Gatorade and watching the movie, and we get to the climax of the film,
Climax.
pun
Quite
intended.
literally.
And I realize that I'm just watching pornography in the middle of the day, sitting on the couch with the dog,
Drinking Gatorade.
drinking Gatorade,
Hey,
and then realize that I'm sitting in the middle of the day watching pornography, drinking Gatorade with someone else's dog. It's not even my dog that I'm watching the pornography with.
pretty good.
Cheating.
And also the Gatorade is
So
the
did you
exact
feel-
same color as most of the lights.
Did you feel a
in this
connection
movie.
to all the bros out in the broverse who all watch pornography and they have to do with someone else's dog? Because I'm sure it's a common thing in America.
I think there's a fetish site for it. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm patting
Probably.
myself on the back for not pulling a screen grab of that.
Man, I am telling you, this film was
I told you guys. I warned you in the chat.
was so amazingly good. The artistry that Gaspar Noé can pull out of this thing and express is on a Kubrickian level. It's on what's his name? The guy did Tree of Life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Malik.
that level.
Malik.
This guy has a connection to his own existence that is to be celebrated. The first part of the film where it's POV, right?
Mhm.
The guy is getting
Yes.
high and he sees this basically. Then he wanders around the street. You get the eye blinks.
Yep.
You
The
get
eye
that-
blinks made me insane.
You get
I'm
that.
with Tad.
You get that weird hollow sound of you listen to your own voice in your head.
But also,
Especially
yeah,
when the eye
that
blinks
sound
kept
design was
going
so
once
on
we
purpose.
It was so
Third person.
amazing. No one has
Yeah.
done.
Damn right,
I
Chris.
swear to God, no one
Yep.
has
And then it
done
switches
this.
I like
over.
how he's shot from the back of his head.
Yeah,
Right,
the
but
later
it's
on.
the
not
second
yeah.
fucking
half of
eye
the
blink.
picture.
I'm talking about the part before he gets killed. But the thing is,
That me and Will realized wasn't something wrong with my TV. Not that the opening credits didn't cause that also.
I sat really close to the TV watching this thing, and it was basically watching someone else's existence.
Mhm.
This guy nailed it. Did a fantastic job. Gaspar, this is like
Nobody
David,
makes
this is
films
David
like
Lynch.
this,
I'm just bearing with praise right now. This is like David Lynch and his TM kind of meditation thing, and kind of understanding the underpinnings of story, underpinnings of video of cinema. He got it. I was amazed. And it went on to the film, although I have some exceptions later on. The first part of this film it just floored me. It was so well done. Just so well done. I mean, I never seen anything like it. And then later on with the colors and like that, and that was the DP doing his thing. And it was just.
Right.
And I just want to point out
Mhm.
that Scott also said after climax, I've never seen anything like this. And this is why, he's not for everyone. Obviously, this man's work,
Yeah.
but you have to. I think it's almost inarguable that he is an artist and then that he's special in some way, whether you hate him or not him, but I mean the work.
An actual artist.
Right.
That's the thing.
That's what I think you could argue.
Visually, this movie is astounding to look at. It's like watching the Star Child scene from it. Like I described it to somebody like, yeah, it's kind of like the Star Child scene meets I don't know, Lost in Translation. But
Star Child scene meets the video for Smack My Bitch Up, which is specifically an influence on this movie.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
true. That's true.
But you could cut an hour out of this movie.
Yes.
And
Probably.
An hour, and easily you could cut an hour out of this movie.
There
they
was
did
an
cut.
overseas
There
version.
was a longer one.
Yeah.
It was
I
only
don't-
like 5 minutes. It was only
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
5
it wasn't
minutes.
that big of a difference. Yeah.
I saw I watched the 242 one or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And
234.
There's
there's
an
a lot
overseas
of
version, but
going
it's-
back on what I would say was covered ground. Like
Yeah.
we've been through this already.
Yeah.
There's a lot of zooming around at the tops of buildings.
The camera down stuff, which no one else was
I will
doing
say-
like that.
I don't know how they made this movie without drones, given this was 2008.
You and me
So
both.
they
Cal.
They
did-
shot
did-
a bunch of helicopters.
It was helicopters. So
No
they did.
shit, really?
And then they
Yeah.
processed the shit out of it.
That's
Right. So I read
not
that
what I
they.
would've thought.
So even though it looks like miniatures, there's no miniatures in this movie.
I didn't. Well, except for the one in guy's apartment.
Except for the Love
Right.
Hotel.
But the right,
Really stuff.
but the Jim is correct from what I read was that the outside shit is helicopters, and then of course the rooms are all a set in Tokyo.
They're
Sure.
sets, yeah.
But he's got a ginormous crane that he's operating.
Is that
Yeah,
what
he's on
doing?
top of everything. He's doing straight down.
And he's going up and down and going across. And just like in Irreversible and just like in Climax and just like here, Gaspar is one of those rare, like he likes to operate as much as he can. He doesn't gaff, but he always operates the camera if he can, and he always operates cranes and jibs and that kind of stuff if he can.
Yeah. Now, going back to what I said.
I
Go ahead.
really thought of the final scene in Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
where the
yeah,
camera
absolutely.
comes
Yeah.
into the
Yeah, that
room.
came over the
Sure.
top like that. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good stuff.
Very much.
Now, I want to go back to what I said before about this, the first part of this film being one of the most astounding things I've ever seen in terms of like capturing the human condition. This film is also pretty prurient, and it's very like, let's do sex and drugs and let's like have these people be the kind of most common and awful people they can. Our main character, basically you watch him in the life and afterlife, see how much he fucked everything up for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like
Yeah, he's
there's
not
it's not a
likable.
redemptive story about like him going to heaven and good things happening. It's him reviewing all the bad things he did with his family and his friends, basically.
He also can't act. I mean, like,
Oh, that-
I mean, I don't know if
yeah,
Gaspar
Asked
cared about
to,
that, but
other than like 2 or 3 inserts of like,
I think-
him
I think-
Makes up for it.
I think
It's
she's
just
really
like-
good. I think
She's
he's
very
wait,
good.
Paz
always good.
Paz de la Huerta.
Huerta, yeah.
Now,
Now,
She's
Paz de la
incredible.
Yeah, you got to remember that
Hot
he
Delaware.
hired her because this is back in the late aughts, right? Or
Yeah,
early
no,
aughts.
early.
All she did was her claim to fame is that she would take her clothes off for anybody.
Yeah.
She was in Boardwalk Empire. She was in a couple of movies.
Yeah, that's right.
All she was
Boardwalk.
just basically
I don't-
That was
lead
after
actress.
this though. But yes,
Yeah.
he actually in an interview he said I cast her because of all those things. He said she would scream, she would do physicality, she would take
Yes.
off her clothes,
Yes.
but also she's a good actor. Like
Not
she
bad.
just
The
is.
scene-
And
The best scene in this movie is the scene where the guy apologizes and then blames her. She loses her absolute shit
Yeah,
on him.
that was
oh,
great.
it's
Yes,
so
that was
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, it follows out into the hallway and it comes in and out of her screaming.
Mhm.
And then she's with the strip club guy and she's like, I fucking hate all of you people. You're
Yeah.
all evil.
You're all
ruined my
evil.
life.
That was a
And
great
she's just screaming it at the top of her lungs.
You're
Yeah.
all
Giving
evil. I
110
always remember that line.
What you call? Well, it's called a moment of clarity.
Yeah.
It's that's
But they got,
her
but he,
performance. Her performance gets better over the course
It
of the
does.
movie.
I don't
It's
disagree.
so good by that point.
Also,
and,
I like
and
it.
they
I like
did
that-
cast the guy. The guy is a non-actor. They cast him though because he liked his look and he thought they were believable siblings.
You know what? That's absolutely true.
Sorry, I cut you off, Scott.
I
No, it's
just,
fine. You're actually. I'm just saying. I'm agreeing with you. It's right.
we-
He
we
looked like-
talked-
He looked like her younger brother or older brother, whatever. This guy looked like just
I think
some
he's younger.
schmo who didn't kind of figure life out, basically.
We've
Well-
talked a lot on this show about the amount of style relative to the other elements of the movie. I mean, obviously, like
That's
this,
right.
I will give you that even with the thing I didn't like very much about the people, again, more drug overdose, weird drug shit dancing, that druggy dancing movie we watched.
Yeah.
Visually, although that movie was a lot uglier than this one, I thought.
Climax.
I found this movie's view of Tokyo to be singular and unique and mesmerizing. I just
I-
wish
I would
it had
agree
been
100%.
service of a-
crazy colorful.
I wish it if it's going to just be following these druggies around, they do the shit like you could take this story, condense it to 90 minutes, and if you kept the visuals, I would have liked it 10 times more.
But I was
1
surprised
hour,
with
2 hours and 40 minutes, where it felt like we've covered this ground already, man. Why are we going back to this?
It was interminable at a certain point. I
Yes.
just literally kept checking the runtime to be
But
like,
it's
how
almost
much
like-
fucking longer is this movie?
It's-
I don't know what
17
I don't-
by it being that long.
I don't disagree with you guys, but I do remember this is only the second time I've seen it. I didn't watch it all in one sitting this time. The first time I
Okay.
saw it, I did see it all in one sitting, and I don't know if you guys watched it all in one sitting, and maybe it didn't
Oh,
work
it
the
took me
way.
multiple nights.
No,
I
I
watched
took
it-
one night with
I
like a
watched
bunch
it
of
straight
stops,
through.
basically.
Okay, so straight through, I watched it,
My
at
bladder is the size of
nighttime.
like a walnut at this point. It's like a peanut. So
I watched it at nighttime, lights off, one sitting, and I agree that it could be shorter, but there was something about it that washed over me on that first viewing that was so profound and powerful in a way that I had never experienced. And even this time I really loved it, but it was multiple nights,
Multiple.
but yeah, I mean, he could have pulled back, sure, a little bit, but
Well, I mean,
there's something about the,
I'm with
you just,
you. I am
you're in
with,
a trance. You're
to
literally
Scott's point-
I'm with you,
hypnotized.
Jared. It is a trance-like film. Once you're in that
For sure.
zone, once
But-
you're in that kind of like that channel, you're in there. It's
Mhm.
But
amazing.
so is Tree of Life, and that movie whizzed by for me.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
this
okay.
movie starts out. It's literally through his eyes. You go through his evening where he is shot and killed by police.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you get now his spirit is gonna follow around the aftermath.
Oh, it's
Except
so
it doesn't do that. It jumps all over the fucking place. Now we're going to flashbacks.
Well, what it now? Well, so
in that sense,
so
it was
speaking
sort
of
like,
It's a
speaking of the
less- it's a-
flashbacks, I've never seen a film. I was so happy that he worked a real, narrative into this crazy.
yes, I just think there was a much tighter way to have done it.
Well,
and
you know what?
the-
You know what? Ghost Story. A Ghost Story
Or Ghost
did
Story.
it just a little bit better. A little bit better. It was a little more on the, it was kind
Definitely
of it was
shorter.
on the rails, and it kind of like I love that film so much. So this is part of it.
what I
but-
like about both these movies together is it's two levels of self-indulgence, and I'm not gonna say it's I mean, like these people are both setting out to tell some kind of a narrative. I actually think this movie might be more successful than Performance, weirdly, but they're both extremely undisciplined in their way, yet still strangely visually compelling, which is why I'm not going to dunk on this movie, because I think there's a lot of things about it that are pretty like.
I think you
from
could argue, though.
from a
I think
standpoint, I don't even know how they made parts of it.
But I think you could actually argue that this movie is incredibly disciplined in the sense that it does, like you always like to say, Chris, this thing commits to the bit like 1,000%. Maybe it overstays its welcome. It perhaps overstays its welcome, but I mean,
Yeah.
it is it's like, this is what I want to be, and I'm going to do that 1,000%.
Actually, he was coding the film. He's like, the gang said that, remember the copy of the Tibetan Book of the Dead?
Yeah.
That's the instruction for the entire film. This is what happens.
Of course, which is pretty obvious, but
yeah, very obvious. And at the end, and I'm actually going to knock Gaspar Noé for this a little bit. This is kind of a weird thing with at the end when he was like finally away from his family and floating up in the air and going into people. Basically, the last 20 minutes, right? Just everyone's just fucking, right?
Yeah.
So all these people, Japanese people,
But it's like energy is coming out of their
Caucasian people
privates.
are all fucking.
Right, but what's the point?
I could not
It's
help
all
but I could
heteronormative
not help but
and,
notice that he
tradition
picked
now.
the couple who were fucking in the most normal French way possible to jump into.
Well, that was his sister.
I just what was the
I don't
point
think
of
it
all
was.
that?
I don't think it was.
Well, his sister and his mother were turning into each other. They were like,
I
because
think
he
it
was having that
strange- I think
flashback
it
of
was
like
stranger,
walking in on his
but
parents.
It resembled his sister, but
Well,
it wasn't. his
Alex
sister.
knocks up his sister, right?
Yeah, that's
the guy who ejaculates.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, but
Yeah,
either
yeah.
way, it's like I thought there was some shopping around going on there. You know what I mean? It was like certain kind of a rejection of certain ways that he didn't want to like, and ones that I thought were more natural. And so that's how I felt at the end. It's like you're just picking the nicest, easiest way to make a normal baby, basically, and that's the end of the film.
But
The most normal
Yes.
baby that's made.
This is going to be a hell of a
hotel.
thing.
what
Yeah,
was
man.
The editing
I
was
was asking what the point
editing
of
this episode is
StarCraft
going to be
what was the point?
amazingly challenging. I'm telling you,
But at least that baby's going to have a French father.
it's all going to have a big black bar across the entire part of the film.
Yeah, I don't know. He does this again in Love. If anyone,
does he?
I don't know if anyone's seen Love, but so Love is a movie that he made actually in 3D after this movie.
No shit, 3D.
And yeah, I didn't see
Somehow
it.
less disciplined.
Yeah, I didn't see it in 3D. You had to see it in the theater to see it in 3D, obviously. But he's got the same, the cock is coming at you
Oh my
Boom. He's got the
God.
same. It's like literally the same shot. He just does it again with a different. It's a different
In
cock and it's a
3D.
different vagina and it's in 3D.
Uh-huh.
You know.
I was actually in this
It's-
particular film. I was not offended by that. I thought he was trying to say something kind of beautiful. I thought at the end that
Well,
reincarnation. You lose yourself, you lose your personality, but you get to be in a different kind of body, and your life goes on.
I
Now,
guess I'm with you. If that hadn't been the ending.
This is coming from a personal kind of like
Well,
thing. And also, Jim, I want to point out. Oh, Jim, thank you for picking a film that shows a cremation. Well done. Because I didn't just go through that, they're just saying, yeah, all right. But either way, that was fine. It was just like,
I was like, put it down the toilet. Don't put it down the sink.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God. All right.
But it's sort of, in a way, it reminded me, even though most of it's in black and white, of Wings of Desire.
That's actually I don't argue with that. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, because it's got that sort of, except there you're hopping from person to person who just died.
At the end, you're doing that in this film.
Hook it together.
Yeah.
Well, you're floating around.
Yeah.
I got so, because we've all seen the bird's eye view, scene or two here and there, like Taxi Driver, or I think maybe Road to Perdition had one. Anyway,
I think so.
We've seen it.
Raising
Has anybody seen the movie that inspired Gaspar? It's the Robert Montgomery one that's all done point of view.
It's the
Lady in the Lake.
The Lady in the Lake. Yeah,
oh,
he
wow,
saw
I didn't see that one. No, I never saw it.
From like the late 40s, basically.
Yeah, but I was gonna say I haven't seen it done obviously on this scale,
Mhm.
and you get, and it's so fascinating to watch. I don't know, like 75% of a picture like that. It's just fascinating. I found it,
It also
completely
sort of
completely
reminded me-
captivating.
It sort of reminded me of what's the Kurosawa film that he made at the end of his life?
Rand?
It's all color stuff.
Oh, I can't remember the name of it. I know
Dreams. I think.
Dreams.
is-
Yeah, Dreams.
Dreams.
Kurosawa's Dreams. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The car wreck was done so incredibly well.
I thought it was done really
Car wreck
well. Yeah.
was good.
In general,
Technically,
It just fucks with you so much.
in general, the Canadian flashbacks were really good. I just loved all the stuff with her as a little girl and him as a little boy,
Oh
and how
God.
they interacted. That felt so natural, and also it's like
They kept
it
going
talked
back
me
to the
because
car. They kept going back to the car wreck. I don't know how they got that little girl actor to scream like that, but
I
that
don't know
was
either. It's
blood
fucking-
curdling.
astounding.
Oh my
Blood curdling.
God.
Yeah,
It was, ugh.
I
My
know.
heart was like,
it was amazing. That's why like the flashback stuff was it was really really well done. So that's why I'm putting this guy way over the top in terms of just making a film that just talks to the human condition in such a profound way. This guy knows how life works. It's a
Well,
I'm just
and he'd been
it's
wanting to
just
do
nuts.
this. He'd been technically thinking about this since he was 23.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was writing it and he just could never make it work. He couldn't figure it out. He was young, but he knew.
Well, it was
And I
also
think a lot of
money.
it stayed.
Also,
Yeah. Well, he couldn't make
Like-
it until he made Irreversible
Until
because
he made it
True.
irreversible, because
That's right.
irreversible hit so big that he was able to get
yeah,
funding to
and
do
this
that.
film was
That's exactly right.
I hate to say it, but it's a fucking turkey. It cost $18 million and made $800,000 in the box office worldwide.
Oh, I know.
But
yeah,
Irreversible.
It's
sad.
got this other, no, this one. And funnily enough, this is his most sort of popular,
Yes,
quote unquote
Later on,
popular
it became
movie.
popular
Yeah, later
later on.
on it became, yeah.
It's a landmark film.
Even though I don't even think it's his best movie, but it's the one people
What's his
know
best
the most.
movie? What's his best movie? You think?
Oh, I still think Irreversible is his best.
One I will refuse to watch.
I think the climax was a lot sharper than this in a lot of ways, but only because it's shorter. That's the thing.
Well, and it's
this film is still profound. They're both great films.
And
but
he's
I like
exercising
Climax.
different
Climax
things.
is the dancing one.
The dancing one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dancing one.
God damn that
Which
film.
Scott really liked, and I
There
kind
was
of
a lot
halfway
of
through the
Oh,
similar
movie,
that film
I
fucked
was
me
like,
up. It was so good. It was so good.
I want to give this guy a 10 for the style,
Uh-huh.
but I just can't with the narrative and with dragging this out for almost 3 hours.
I'll give you that.
Visually,
hey,
it's so bourgeois,
it is
Chris.
very striking and very cool. And like I said, I don't even know how the fuck he made a lot of it. but I could
Oh,
not.
yeah.
Like
There
Ted
was a
said,
lot done in
it was
post.
interminable.
If you couldn't
like
figure
the
the technique
second-
out,
I
also
found
this
it,
is
I
all.
found it really flowed.
I love the
was
fact it was all in
getting
English
ready
too. God damn it, that was great.
because when I
I like
first
that
saw
they
it, I saw
subtitled
it
the
on
Japanese.
Was it
like
really?
either
Yeah.
HBO
I-
or
I like
Netflix or
I like
something.
films that don't, I don't know what, they don't cater to anything.
Yes.
They don't
A
want
film-
to. Like when you start this film, in the first 20 minutes, you go, oh, okay. Or the first
No.
first like 5-10 minutes, you're like,
No, when it
oh,
comes
I have to,
wait,
I have to be,
This
this is
film-
going to be this. And if
this
I'm not
film is-
okay with
is-
that, I'm going to turn it off. Like,
It's
Well,
it's
'cause he gets
uncompromising. This
shot
film
in
is
the
not
toilet,
compromising,
right? And you're only 20 minutes into
but
the
it's even
flight.
by the time I remember this time before he gets shot, remember when they're walking out of the apartment and he's like, can I take the water? And he goes, sure. And he's got the drugs on him.
Oh,
And
right,
they're
Alex.
leaving the apartment to go to the void for the
Yes.
first time. When they're walking down, they're just talking and they're kind of talking about the Book of the Dead. They're talking about how hot his sister is.
Yeah.
They're talking about different things. It was at that moment this time where I was like, most people would not be okay with this, feeling like this far into this picture. Like,
Right.
and I was going, this is brilliant.
Me
Like,
too.
because it doesn't give a
Me too.
fuck. Like, it's
Because,
like
like I said, it was still in that point. He was alive, and he was like doing that whole
yeah, he's blinking. And
reality imitation.
by
thing.
the way, that, I mean, it's obvious probably how they did that. But the mirror scene was just fucked me up again. Like, I was
know.
like,
I have
okay,
no idea how
fuck.
they did.
Did
it.
anybody else watch Nickel Boys but me?
No, no one saw it.
I
so-
didn't see it.
Okay, so Nickel Boys takes this same shtick.
Right.
I felt did it so much more effectively. I mean, first off, he didn't waste time with the blinking thing. Like he didn't need to. He told a story about racism in the South in the 60s, but you're basically watching it through like, so when someone is awful to one of the characters, it's like it's directed at you, the viewer.
Yeah.
And that to me was taking that filmmaking choice and applying it in a much more disciplined way to make the story that they were telling, which was already tight based on I think a book that was pretty well regarded, and made it twice as effective because of the choice that he made in the way that he shot it.
But it's also got more of a,
This is
it's
just wanking.
well,
That's
yeah, okay.
fine. That's fine. It's wanking.
You can say it's wanking, but I would also argue that a film like Nickel Boys, though I haven't seen it, but reading about it and hearing what you just said about it, and I don't doubt it's well done. I don't doubt it's powerful, but it's got a message. It's manipulating you in a way that it wants to. And I would argue that this film, I mean, not that you can't say this is manipulating us. Every movie manipulates, but I'm saying this film doesn't have an agenda. I think it's just trying to show you something, whereas like something like Nickel Boys has a fucking agenda and they're going to nail it into your head.
This film is uncompromising. It's what it is. The guy made it, and you have to accept it for what it is. And there's like there's
Sure.
there's almost no allowance for the audience at all. It's like I'm making this goddamn. It's like I
Actually
make
don't
this.
have to accept it for what it is. That's part of the point of criticism.
That's exactly right. As I think it was
Sure. Yeah.
So,
And you can turn
okay.
this off, which
I
I'm sure
still
most
don't
people
know
do.
what that movie's about. You think it's about the human condition, and I'm sitting there struggling with trying to like
No.
figure out.
It's
how
about
we
what
get there.
happens to you after you die.
Yeah,
This
it's an
film is-
exploration of like what happens in an afterlife, or how do we cross
So
over,
is-
or what
Yes.
is the whole meaning
What is
of
the
like
meaning
I
of
was
a soul
defending
and
your
what-
life in heaven can
'cause
wait.
if I made a movie about the afterlife,
They made a lot of movies like
he
this.
would
This
get
is very
shot
effective in
20
that
minutes
respect.
in, and it
It's
would
part
go
of
to black.
yeah, exactly. Okay,
But
also
again,
I
Scott's the one that brought up A Ghost Story. Did a better job talking about
Because it was
story.
I love that
film
movie
was
too.
tight, man. That film
I
was
think
tight.
that
About
movie's
manipulative and commercial.
I'm with
shit.
Scott. Like that was my favorite movie of that year too. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I had another thought when I was watching this movie this time, which is just a personal opinion, but there's a lot of films or filmmakers that try to be cool and they think they have their finger on the pulse or whatever, and they're trying to be hip. And then there are people who just fucking are. And
right.
Gaspar Noé just fucking is.
Yes, he is.
This guy just
very hip.
knows.
I will give you that.
This guy is not trying to be cool. He's not trying to be. I mean, you
No.
could say, okay, he's a little fucking, what do you call it? Like pretentious or something,
Yeah.
but
Well,
not to
he's
be
also trying
crude,
to wind the audience
not to be
up.
crude, but Gaspar Noé is taking cinema in a larger
he
sense
is
and
French.
fucking it in the air. He's doing what he wants to do with it.
Sure.
but he's
Yeah.
like unbelievably
It's
without
his
even
vision.
trying,
His
without
editing
even
style-
trying, unbelievably
Unapologetic
like the
for it.
coolest films. Like
he is
you can
making
like
his
it or not,
own
and
mark in the
evidently
world, and
nobody
it's amazing, and we're lucky to see it, man. That's all it is.
All right.
So, okay, thumbs at this point. Come on.
huge.
I'm literally right here.
Oh no, I'm way the fuck up on this thing. That was one of the best films I've ever seen in the last 5 years.
Dude,
So good
Wow.
stuff.
it's amazing. It's
But you
amazing.
really liked Climax too.
I love
Yeah.
Climax.
So yeah, we got a new
Noé is
Gaspar
one of
Noé
my-
fan.
He's one of my
Yay.
newest. He's my favorite now. He was one of my
I
favorites.
say
now.
visuals, story. Anyway,
Oh no.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
He's trying to change things. This guy's trying to make cinema different.